The Brewers spin a trade for the starting pitcher we've all been craving for. Is it the right choice? We'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. And the Brewers place another pitcher on the injured reserve list. All that coming up next on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everybody. Good to have you along here on an early Tuesday morning, wherever you're getting this podcast on our various platforms out there. Appreciate you taking time out. My name is Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day, always. Great talking Brewer baseball with you. An exciting time, especially right before the trading deadline, and the Brewers spin off a trade on Monday night, right during the game, right during the 8-3 win over the Atlanta Braves. Anyway, this show is brought to you in part by the great folks at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use that lowercase Locked On MLB, and that first deposit match up to $100. All right. The Brewers went out and really, I had to do a double take when I first saw that they made a trade with the Reds. And I'm like, is that right? Because normally you don't see teams, especially in this division, make trades with each other. And the Brewers spun a trade, especially at the trading deadline. Frankie Montas, they got him from the Reds, veteran pitcher, 31 years old. We'll talk more about him in just a bit. In return, the Brewers give up Joey Wiemer and Jacob Junis. Now, with Wiemer, the much talked about Joey Wiemer, we've talked about him a lot, not recently, obviously, because he has kind of been persona non grata, not in the Brewers pitcher. He wasn't going to be in the Brewers pitcher. I think we learned in spring training and maybe earlier this year, it just wasn't happening for Joey Wiemer. He's going to get an opportunity in Cincinnati. That hitch in his swing, and it just never got corrected. And I don't know if it will get corrected. He'll have to do that in Cincinnati or wherever he winds up. Maybe the farm system, but I got a feeling he's going to be playing at least maybe a part-time role with the Reds. So they give up Joey Wiemer, kind of a forgotten man, a man who we talked about a lot over the years. Frustration mostly because we saw how athletic the guy was and how good the guy was, potentially could be, but it just wasn't happening. The Brewers gave Jacob Junis, and the Reds will get him as a rental. 1 year, $7 million. There's an option there. And I thought Junis did a nice job. I liked him coming out of the bullpen. I really did. I like Junis coming out of the bullpen. So the Brewers give him up. In return, getting Montas, who's on a 1 year, $16 million contract. So the Brewers, in all this, come up with a deficit of $3.3 million. In other words, this trade, after everything's settled, about $3.3 million the Brewers would be giving up, would be adding to their payroll, we'll say. But as far as Frankie Montas, here's a guy who has pitched most of his career with Oakland, has pitched some in the postseason. He had one start with the A's in the 2020 postseason. I don't really count that COVID year. In 2022, had a cup of coffee with the Yankees, got into one of the postseason games there, but spent most of his time and was looking for a shot. The Reds gave him a shot, again, on a 1 year, $16 million. I've also seen $14 million, but $16 million, we'll go with that right now, with a mutual option of $20 million. I don't know what the Reds are doing, giving him a mutual option of $20 million. My gosh, there ain't no way the Brewers are picking up that mutual option for $20 million. Long-term, maybe he comes back and they redo the deal, but they're just much like when the Brewers picked up K-Rod in 2011. There was like an $18 million option the Brewers could have picked up there, and that one again, that one going to happen. And the Brewers, and there's no mutual option the Brewers are going to pick up here in this $20 million. But let's talk about this year. What is Montas going to bring to the team? Well, he started off the season fast for Cincinnati, pitched very well. Lately, not been very good. His record is 4-8. He's got an ERA a tad over 5. He's made 19 starts. He talked to the media after the game tonight. Sounds like he's not wanting to leave Cincinnati, even though he's coming to a team that's in first place. Sounds like he liked the family atmosphere with the Reds. The Reds organization really welcomed him and the family. You know, sometimes players don't want to go. They do not want to leave a team, even though it appears the Reds are completely out of the race. They're like 10 games out, maybe in the wild card chase. It's been a disappointing season for the Reds, but Montas liked his situation with Cincinnati. Okay, he liked this situation with the Reds. Now, he did talk about, I am going to a first place team. Okay, now he liked the family atmosphere in Cincinnati, and he's going to love that, I think, with the Brewers, because the Brewers very much have that. You see in the post game press conference, Murphy always has his kids up there, his little kids, and the Brewers have always have created that family atmosphere. And this is for such a long time. The Brewers have created this. Under Counsell, it was that way. Under Renicky, it has been that way. And so Montas is not going to have any problem. The Brewers are going to welcome him in. They're going to embrace him. They are going to embrace him and his family. The Brewers are just excellent. I can't overstate that enough. So if Montas is loving the family atmosphere he had in Cincinnati, he's going to love the same situation with the Milwaukee Brewers. I can tell you that I'm in that Brewer locker room, and that is a very, very good clubhouse, and they're very good with families. Now, what's this guy going to do with the Brewers? Well, I don't know. I mean, they're going to give him a start. Obviously, he's going to be in the starting rotation. They got him to start games. He's not a bullpen guy. He is a starter. They're going to put him in the starting rotation. And I know some Brewer fans right now, you look on Twitter, and they're down on this trade. They're looking, well, it's another Dallas Keuchel trade. Is this another Savali trade? The Savali, I think, has put up a couple of nice starts. The Brewers are not going to go out and make themselves we're not going to go out and get Kikuchi, especially with what the Astros gave up for him. They're in desperate need of a starter, and I think the Astros gave up the number 2 prospect. They overpaid the Blue Jays for him. The Brewers were not going to overpay for anybody. Now, you might argue, could they have gone out and got Eric Fetty? The Cardinals were able to get in on that deal. I thought the Brewers could have got it. I mean, what the Cardinals gave up, I would have been on that Eric Fetty deal. I don't know how the Cardinals, like they always seem to do, slip by everybody and pull off one of these trades, but they did. So, yeah, I would have liked Eric Fetty. I would have liked Eric Fetty ahead of Montas, but I'm not going to dump on this trade whatsoever. The Brewers upped their salary by $3.3 million. And the one thing I didn't like when you look at the stat line, Montas has given up 14 homers this year. That's a little, especially at AmFam Field. That's a little bit too much for my liking. But I'm going to give him a shot. Let's give him a shot. Got to put him in the rotation and see how he does. He's going to make a start. Now, I thought maybe, and the Brewers have done this when they've traded for a player, they've put him right in. And like with Keuchel, they picked up Keuchel, and the next afternoon he was starting a game for the Brewers. The next afternoon. Last time I checked, Montas was in Cincinnati late Monday night. He was talking to the media, how quickly he gets here. And Tuesday, he was supposed to start Tuesday's game with Cincinnati. So I would not discount Montas starting on Tuesday night. I'm just saying. I would not discount that. It looks like it's going to be Joe Ross for the Brewers, but I'm not discounting Montas just yet starting in this game for Tuesday. Again, you can look at the home runs. You can look at the way he has not pitched well recently with the Reds. Maybe a change of atmosphere will do this guy some good, but let's give it a shot. This is a kind of a Milwaukee Brewers move. All right. They gave up a guy who they at one time thought was going to be part of their future, but they have soured on him, Joey Weimer. And Jacob Junis, Reds get a rental in return. Just like Montas right now, I look at him as a rental, even though that $20 million mutual option is up there. I don't think that's at all on the table. Are the Brewers done at this point? They might not be. There's rumblings that, Garrett Mitchell could be used as trade bait, although Mitchell's, he had a great catch in the outfield, taking away a home run on Monday night, starting to hit a little better. I'd be reluctant to give up on Mitchell. I was on ESPN Lacrosse on Monday afternoon. They asked me about it. And I said, yeah, I think there's a lot of people down on Mitchell too. I am unwilling to give up. Of course, everything is always on the table, with the exception of a few guys. And Mitchell is on. I would see who I'd get back in return. But I'm still looking for a left-handed bat if I'm the Milwaukee Brewers. Okay? I mean, Jackson Chourio hit another home run on Monday night. But let's give that kid some help. Let's get some of that. Let's get another left-handed bat in this lineup. Right now, I'm not completely sold that Yelich is coming back this year. Okay? So I want to move on right now like Yelich isn't coming back, even though he might. Okay? But and they're going to do whatever they can to get him back with the exercises and all that and strengthening the back, whatever. But I think the Brewers need to move on right now here at the trading deadline like Yelich is not coming back. And if he comes back, great. You have one more bat to choose from if you make it a trade for a left-handed hitter. I would love to see them do that. I'm not saying it's a blockbuster move, but I'd like to see them, and I'd be willing to give up Mitchell for the right move. All right. The Cardinals get Eric Fetty. I would love to see the Brewers get in on Soler. Soler got traded to the Giants, traded from the Giants to the Braves. So he'll be in Milwaukee on Tuesday night, probably playing, and he might even be in the lineup. Who knows how that works out. But the Brewers have yet to announce this Frankie Montas trade as of early Tuesday morning. And you ask why? Well, there's a lot of reports out there that the trade is done. They got to put him through the physical and all that before they make the move official. But everybody's reporting right now that the Brewers have indeed got Frankie Montas. The club hasn't announced it, but pending the physical, Frankie Montas is a member of the Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers had to put Trevor Mcgill on the injured list. This was going to be my big story tonight, and I'm disappointed that this is happening. This is going to ruin my beautiful picture of that 8th and 9th inning guys for the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll get to that coming up next. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Prize Picks keeps rolling along, man. They're America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members. Hey, it's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, you against the numbers. Other apps, no. Prize Picks, you against the numbers. It's very basic, very easy to use. All you do is pick more or less on anywhere from 2 to 6 players. Maybe you like, I don't know, Willy Adames, half home run on the over. You get some good odds. The guy had a 3-run home run on Monday night. Maybe you want to go down that. Anywhere from 2 to 6 players. Pick those stat projections, either or less or more. Get in on all the daily action with your friends. Become part of the Prize Picks community today. You could win 100 times your money on Prize Picks. As little as 4 correct picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for that first deposit match up to $100. Promo code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. But download the Prize Pick apps. Prize Picks app today. Chuck Freeman here, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And the Brewers and Braves game 2 of the series comes up on Tuesday night, 7:10. The broadcast on SiriusXM, the SXM app. Search Brewers. You get all 162 of the home team broadcast on SiriusXM. And if you're going to the game, you'll get some of the West Coast games. Of course, all the games on SiriusXM as you're filtering out the ballpark after the game on Tuesday night. Check out those West Coast games as well. Trevor Mcgill on the injured list. I was just talking in the podcast yesterday about how the Brewers, they're going to have to lean so heavily on their pitching staff right now because their offense, we all know how quite suspect they can be sometimes. And with Mcgill and Williams, that back end, you really shorten up the game. Now Mcgill goes on the injured list with a lower back injury. Murph was asked before the game, after the game, no update yet on the test that Mcgill was having done on his back. But obviously this is a problem. Thank God that Devin Williams is coming back. Murph was also asked, does this mean Devin Williams coming back with Mcgill on the injured list? Does that mean Williams gets ramped up? No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to rush Devin at all. All right. They made a mistake in spring training. They are going to pace Devin Williams right now. They're not going to rush him into anything. As good as he looked on Sunday, and despite Mcgill, they had Piamps warming up in the ninth inning on Monday night. But they were not they're not going to go and hurry him Williams back. They're going to let him take his time. Okay, they're not going to use him multiple days in a row right now. Brian Hudson on the injured list, that's a huge move. And Trevor Mcgill joins him on the IL. That was going to be my lead story tonight. That is such a huge, huge loss for the Brewers. I can't tell you how much. Willy Adames. Willy Adames hit a 3-run home run on Monday night that flipped the game. Brewers were down 2-0 in this game, and Adames came up, socked a 3-run home run, flipped the game around, I believe, the fifth inning, and turned a 2-1 deficit to a 4-2 lead. And Adames has hit 8 3-run homers this year, and I feel like most of those have come late in the game, flipping games over, securing wins late in the game. Adames talked about after the game how he loves hitting in the big moment. Sometimes he's not come through in the big moment, but a lot of times he has. He was also asked in the locker room, in the media, the 7 or 8 of us around Adames's locker, and he answered the question, do you feel like you're going to be here? What do you feel about these trade rumors? Adames said, I don't see that happening. I would be surprised. I'd be very surprised, were his words, if he'd be traded or not. He said the clubhouse would be very surprised. Now, anything is possible. And we know that Adames is not coming back to the team next year. Would they flip Adames? A guy who's come up with some big moments this year? Would they do that? I don't know. That would be a pretty bold move. I think they learned their lesson a few years ago with Josh Hader. And with the team in first place, 16 games over the 500 mark, I don't think they would do it. There's no doubt if they weren't in this position, if they were meandering around the 500 mark and competing for a wild card, they might think about it. But being 7 games out in front in first place with one of the heartbeats of their team, Willy Adames, they're not trading Adames. Could see it happen. They could get some, they could turn Adames into a veteran and a few prospects. There's no doubt. That would be a bold move. Let me know if you trade Adames at this point. Guy who's come up so clutch for you so far this year. I think he's having a better year than he did last year. The power numbers, he could hit 30 home runs this year. Be interesting. You'd have to think long and hard about it. But if they traded Adames and this team faltered and fell off, fingers would be pointing towards general manager Matt Arnold again, just like they were pointed towards Stearns when they traded Hader. Why did you trade the heartbeat of this team? I don't see them trading Adames. You'd have to think about it. Ken Rosenthal was talking on a podcast that the LA Dodgers could be looking for a shortstop. Sounds like the Dodgers are souring a little bit on Gavin Lux these days, the Kenosha product. I think they love Adames, but Rosenthal was saying that the Brewers would be reluctant. In so many words, basically said they'd be reluctant to trade Adames at this point. And I see that totally. I get it. We come back, we'll wrap up last night's game. Chourio does it again. Give you some numbers on Chourio and look ahead to Tuesday's matchup. Chuck Freeman here. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. SupplyHouse.com. For you guys out there in the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, electrical products online. Easy-to-use website packed with helpful resources, the latest product info to help you get the job done right every time. Shop a complete inventory, over 200,000 parts, over 400 top brands. Get your order delivered right to your door. Fast shipping, coast to coast. Need help with an order? Well, they got expert support there. They're going to let you talk to a real person every time. None of this automated stuff. You're going to talk to a real person. And the pros in the skill trades, you get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trademaster program. Every Trademaster get access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, discounts on every order. Join the thousands and thousands of trade pros already benefiting from the free membership at SupplyHouse.com/T-M. Order plumbing, HVAC, electrical supplies from anywhere. Just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers. Thank you all you everydayers for joining me every day. Joining me on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast. We are there. There's so many places you could download. All you got to do is punch in Locked On Brewers. Search Locked On Brewers, and please hit our subscribe button. All this content is free. It's free every day. Locked On Brewers. Wherever you download your podcast, whatever platform it is, search Locked On Brewers. If you watch us on YouTube, get us on the audio side. For those of you who download us on the audio side every day, hey, we're on YouTube as well. Search Locked On Brewers, our growing YouTube audience. Search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode. Set the alerts on all your podcast downloads, whether it's YouTube or if you are on the audio platforms. Please set the we drop every day, middle of the night. I'll give you a hint here. The YouTube podcast, the YouTube version, most cases I drop that first, usually late night. And then I drop the audio version, maybe at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. But the YouTube always gets dropped first. Hit us up on YouTube, Locked On Brewers. And please, by all means, hit me up on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, Freimund, on Twitter. All right. Chourio, another home run. Stole this stat off Twitter. Since July 2nd, he's hitting .324 with 7 home runs. In an 8-3 win over the Braves, Chourio did it again. His 12th home run of the season. Continues to help carry this team, and he's better than we thought at this stage. We had high expectations. I don't think we'd expected Chourio to help put a team on his back, which he is right now. Talked a lot about Chourio in yesterday's podcast and just what he means in the heart of this order. How about Hoskins? Hoskins is heating up. Another home run. I'll tell you what, that was an icebreaker for Hoskins on Monday night. It was a 2-0 game. Braves hit a couple of solo home runs off Colin Ray. And you're thinking, all right, is this going to be one of those games? It was headed in the direction of another, 2-3-0, 3-1 type game. And then Hoskins homered. And then that got the train rolling a little bit. And then Adames ended up inning or two later coming up with a 3-run blast. But Hoskins starting to heat up. Still's got a good shot at that 30-35 home run mark that I was hoping for that he was going to do when the Brewers got him. Hoskins starting up. Yeah, his batting average, don't look at that, but he's hitting some home runs right now, and that's all we want. 16 over the 500 mark, as I mentioned a little while ago, 7 games up on St. Louis in the division. 7 games up on these guys, making it very difficult because each day the Brewers rip off a day in that calendar. Each day that summer moves along, and you rip a day off on these beautiful summer nights in Milwaukee, and the Brewers increase their lead. I feel like in the last week, they've increased their lead from 5 to 7 games on St. Louis. 16 above 500. That looks great. Man, we take that. 7 games over, 5 games at the All-Star break. And again, every day that you rip a day off that calendar and you have a big margin, what is it, like 56 games left in the schedule, whatever it is, 53, and you're making it very difficult on anybody for catching you. when you have a 7-game lead. Of course, we saw what the Cardinals did in 2011. They raced a big deficit at the end of August to get back into the wild card hunt. But this is the Brewers division. This is the Brewers division. And, man, I'll tell you what, with Frankie Montas, let's hope he's the answer. He's going to fit into that clubhouse. He's going to love it here. And hopefully a change of scenery does him some good. I know you're going to look at the ERA of 5.01 and a 4-8 record, but let's give this guy an opportunity to come in. I don't think that the Brewers gave up the world for this guy. Okay. And let's hope too that the Brewers get that left-handed bat. I think they need one more left-handed bat. We'll see what they do. We'll be updating. We'll be here throwing out a instant reaction if the Brewers do make another trade. Trading deadline is 5 o'clock Tuesday today, Central Time, 5 o'clock. A lot of the players are getting off the players that were available. We didn't know it. We never talked about Frankie Montas, but a lot of the names are gone right now. But who knows? Maybe there's another Frankie Montas offensive-wise that the Brewers might go and track down. We'll see. We'll be here to track it for you on Locked On Brewers. Again, Google, Spotify, Apple. Please get us on all the audio platforms. Go to YouTube, search Locked On Brewers. Please hit subscribe, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. Hit me up at Twitter. Always, if you want to DM me, you want to ask me a question, Chuck Freeman, Freimund. That's going to do it. Have yourself a great Tuesday, everybody. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And you want a second listen? Go turn over to Locked On MLB. My man Sully over there is going to give you all the daily reaction on Locked On MLB. Have yourself a great Tuesday, everybody.